Welcome to History. This is the Unauthorized Museum. Artifact 3 is a newspaper from 1913. Suffragette Funeral Emily Davison. Date on the newspaper is June 14th, 1913. I purchased this on June 13th, 2023. So this was purchased just one day short of 110 years after the event. Price $48, shipping $10, tax $4.42, total $62.42. Pause here to see the receipt. London, June 14th. Suffragettes came from all parts of England today for the funeral of Emily Wilding Davison, who met her death while interfering with the King's horse in the Derby on June 4th. A special train brought the body from Epsom to Victoria, where a procession of 6,000 women was waiting to escort it to St. George Church in Bloomsbury, where the service was being held. The bands played dirges while members of various women's societies fell into line behind the hearse, each group headed by its banner and all wearing mourning emblems. Enormous crowds surrounded the station, making progress difficult. The parade was divided into 11 sections. The suffragettes marched in fours, all carrying flowers. The coffin was in the middle of the procession, and the clergy of St. George Church of Bloomsbury marched at its head. Dr. Baumgarten had issued a statement that he was not a sympathizer with women's militant tactics. With the exception of Emmeline Pankhurst, who was rearrested, and General Miss Flora Drummond, who was ill, all the leaders of the militant organizations occupied prominent places in the procession. Owing to the dense throng of spectators, the funeral procession moved very slowly, a woman at the head, dressed entirely in white, carrying a cross aloft. There was some slight booing, but the crowds were, for the most part, orderly and sympathetic. A deal of confusion and commotion was caused by a report that police would compel the paraders to proceed through secluded streets. There was no serious trouble, however. Okay, now let's investigate. The suffragette newspaper marked Davidson's death by issuing a copy of a female angel with raised arms standing in front of a guardrail at a race course. Davison joined the WSPU in 1906. She graduated from the University of London with honors in 1908. In 1908 or 1909, she left her teaching job and dedicated herself full-time to the Union. In March 1909, she was arrested for the first time with 21 women who marched from Caxton Hall to see the Prime Minister. She was arrested for assaulting police in the execution of their duty. She was sentenced to a month in prison. After her release, she wrote the WSPU saying, "Through my humble work in this noblest of all causes, I have come into the fullness of joy and an interest in living which I have never before experienced." Emily was arrested 8 more times before her death in 1913. Emily was force-fed 49 times during the 8 times she was in prison. On June 4th, 1913, Emily Davison was struck by the King's horse after running onto the racecourse during the Epsom Derby. The coroner stated Miss Emily Wilding Davison died of a fracture at the base of the skull, caused by being accidentally knocked down by a horse through willfully rushing onto the racecourse on Epsom Downs during the progress of the race of the Derby. Death due to misadventure. The coroner also decided that although she waited until she could see the horses, from the evidence it was clear that the woman did not make for His Majesty's horse in particular. King George V later recorded in his diary that it was the most regrettable and scandalous proceeding. She has done more for the cause than we could have done in years of talking. Christabel Pankhurst. The fact of the matter is that until women had a revolution of some kind, they would not get anything at all. Emily Davison.